My phone buzzed at exactly 11:47 p.m., the sharp vibration cutting through the silence of my darkened room. I reached for it, groggy and half-aware, but the moment my eyes scanned the glowing screen, every trace of sleep vanished. The message was short, frantic, and terrifying enough to make the blood in my veins turn to ice. "Is Daniel with you? Take him and run. He's coming." In an instant I was upright, the sheets pooling at my waist, my heart slamming against my ribs so hard it hurt. From the hallway outside my apartment, I heard it, the heavy, deliberate cadence of footsteps drawing closer. Then a shadow slid across the narrow gap under my door, stopping, waiting. The silence thickened before the doorknob gave a sharp rattle, as if someone was testing its strength, testing my resolve. My name is Clara Martinez. I'm 32 years old, a forensic accountant by profession, but at that moment titles and careers meant nothing. That night I was something else entirely, an unlikely guardian, a fragile but determined shield standing between a 4-year-old boy and the very people who shared his blood. Because when $4 billion is at stake, blood is no longer family. It's currency, it's motive, and it's war. In the guest room just down the hall, little Daniel slept soundly, his tiny chest rising and falling with the rhythm of dreams untouched by fear. He had no idea, no way of knowing, that members of his own father's family were conspiring to erase him from existence, to remove him permanently from the picture. But to understand why, to truly see how deep this nightmare runs, I need to take you back. Back to where it all began. 2 months earlier, Daniel's father, Michael, was killed in a devastating car accident, leaving the boy fatherless before he could even fully grasp what the word meant. And before that, before Daniel had even taken his first steps in this world, he had already lost his mother, Sophia, my sister, who died giving birth to him 4 years ago. And as if fate had not already been cruel enough, just weeks after Michael's funeral, tragedy struck again. Eleanor, Michael's mother and Daniel's grandmother, passed away as well. The doctors called it broken heart syndrome. A death caused not by illness or injury but by grief itself, a sorrow so overwhelming that it simply stopped her heart. In less than 8 weeks, Daniel had lost everyone who had ever loved him without condition. In 2 brutal strokes, his family had been reduced to ashes and memories. But Eleanor, in her final act of devotion, had made sure Daniel would never want for anything. Her will left him everything. $4 billion, properties spanning 3 states, and investment portfolios that could fund small nations. All held in trust until his 18th birthday. She had named me as trustee, giving me complete control until Daniel came of age. Me, a forensic accountant who specialized in protecting assets from exactly the kind of predators now circling my nephew like sharks scenting blood. Richard, Michael's older brother, had been the first to show up at my door after the funeral. Tall, silver-haired, wearing a $1,000 suit and a smile that made my skin crawl. "Clara, sweetheart," he said, pushing past me into my living room. "We need to talk about Daniel's situation. This arrangement Eleanor made, it's not practical. A child needs family, real family. Not a career woman playing house." "I am his real family," I replied, watching him survey my modest apartment like he was appraising it for auction. "Sophia was my sister. Daniel is my nephew. By marriage, dear. Hardly the same as blood." His eyes gleamed when they landed on Daniel's toys scattered near the couch. "Besides," he added before I could respond, "what does a single woman know about raising a boy? Richard Jr. and I could provide him with brothers, stability, a real family structure." What he meant was, hand over the $4 billion we can't touch while you're in charge. I smiled sweetly. "Thanks for the concern, Richard, but Daniel stays with me." That's when his mask slipped, just for a second. "We'll see about that," he said and walked out. The following week it was Vanessa's turn. Michael's sister glided in armed with legal papers and rehearsed tears. "Clara, I'm so worried about Daniel," she sobbed into a tissue that somehow never smudged her perfect makeup. "He seems so withdrawn lately. Don't you think he would be happier with children his own age? My girls would love a little brother." I watched her performance while bouncing Daniel, who was sitting on my laps and giggling at a cartoon, looking perfectly content. "He seems fine to me, Vanessa," I replied. But is fine really enough? Eleanor's will was written when she was grieving, not thinking clearly. Any reasonable judge would see that a traditional family setting would be better for his development. Any reasonable judge would also see that his legal guardian was specifically chosen by his grandmother, who was sharp as a tack until the day she died. I retorted. Her crocodile tears vanished instantly and she spat. Don't make this harder than it has to be, Clara. There are ways to challenge these arrangements. Ways that could get messy. The threat hung in the air like smoke from a house fire. But it was Gregory's visit that transformed my concern into pure terror. Michael's cousin had always been the family's cleanup crew, the one who solved problems that lawyers couldn't touch. I first spotted his black Mercedes trailing us from Daniel's preschool, making no attempt at subtlety. He wanted me to know I was being hunted. That night, my apartment building's security cameras mysteriously malfunctioned. The next morning, I found that my car's brake lines had been tampered with. That's when I knew they were done playing nice. But here's what Richard, Vanessa, and Gregory didn't know about me. Forensic accounting isn't just about finding missing money, it's about finding missing truth. And over the past month, I had been very busy uncovering theirs. Eleanor might have left Daniel everything, but that didn't mean his relatives were broke. Far from it. Richard's construction company had been embezzling from city contracts for years. Vanessa's charity foundation was her personal ATM where 90% of the donations funded her lifestyle. And Gregory had been laundering money through fake investment schemes. I had documentation, bank records, email trails, everything needed to destroy them. But I was waiting for the right moment to use it. Tonight apparently was that moment. The footsteps in the hallway stopped. My phone buzzed again. Back door. Yow. I scooped Daniel from his bed, grabbing the emergency bag I'd packed weeks ago during sleepless nights of contingency planning. He stirred but remained unconscious to the danger as I carried him through my kitchen toward the back exit. Clara. Gregory's voice came through my front door, sickeningly sweet. I know you're in there. I just want to talk about Daniel's future. I slipped quietly through the back door into the alley, where Jessica sat waiting with her car already running. Since the day I took custody of Daniel, she had been the one I could lean on, the neighbor I trusted with my deepest fears. Tonight, that trust meant everything. It was her message, sent the moment she spotted Gregory's car from her window, that gave us a chance to escape. As we pulled away, Gregory's silhouette filled my apartment window. Searching, hunting, finding nothing but empty rooms and shattered plans. Aunt Clara. Daniel mumbled from his car seat. Are we going on an adventure? Something like that, sweetheart. But our adventure was just beginning. Because while they were breaking into my apartment, I was putting the final pieces of my plan into motion. The next morning, anonymous packages arrived at FBI offices, newspaper headquarters, and television stations across the city. Each contained meticulously organized evidence of the Blackwell family's criminal enterprises, complete with financial records that would make forensic accountants weep with admiration. The masterstroke came that afternoon. I had arranged a meeting at Eleanor's lawyer's office, supposedly to negotiate Daniel's custody situation. They arrived expecting to corner a frightened woman into submission. Instead, they walked into an ambush of reporters and cameras. Clara, what the hell is this? Richard demanded, his composed facade cracking like ice on hot pavement. This, I announced, standing with Daniel secure in my arms, is justice being served with a side of public humiliation. Meet the press, Richard. They're fascinated by your creative accounting methods. I turned to his sister. And Vanessa, Channel 7 is dying to interview you about where your charity donations really go. Blood drained from Vanessa's face. You can't prove anything. Actually, I can prove everything. Bank statements, forged signatures, witness testimonies. I've been building federal cases against all three of you since the day you threatened my family. Gregory stepped forward, rage distorting his features into something barely human. You have no idea what you've done, Clara. Oh, I know exactly what I've done. I've shown the world what happens when criminals mistake a 4-year-old and his guardian for easy prey. My smile could have powered the city. Spoiler alert, you were catastrophically wrong. A journalist thrust a microphone forward. Richard Blackwell. Can you comment on the mounting allegations of embezzlement, corporate fraud, and the disappearance of nearly $4 million in investor funds? Reports suggest offshore accounts, shell companies, and falsified ledgers all point back to you. What do you have to say? They fled like cockroaches when the lights came on, but the camera crews followed, hungry for blood in the water. Richard paused at the door, his final card played. This isn't over. Actually, it is, I replied with serene certainty. Eleanor's will included a clause you never bothered reading carefully. Any family member who attempts to harm or intimidate Daniel or his guardian is automatically disinherited from all future family assets. Congratulations, you just played yourselves. The room erupted in camera flashes and questions from reporters. But I was already walking away, Daniel's hand in mine. Aunt Clara? He asked as we stepped into the sunshine outside. Why were those people so angry? Sometimes, sweetheart, people let money make them forget what's really important. What's really important? He asked. I knelt down to his level, looking into those innocent brown eyes that looked so much like his mother's. Family. Real family. The kind that protects each other, not the kind that hurts each other. He nodded seriously, then brightened. Can we get ice cream now? I laughed. The first real laugh I'd had in months. Absolutely. As we walked hand in hand down the street, I thought about Eleanor's final letter to me, the one she had left with her lawyer. She knew her family's true nature long before any of us realized it. That's why she chose me, not because I was perfect, but because I genuinely loved Daniel more than I loved money. The irony wasn't lost on me. By trying to steal Daniel's inheritance, Richard, Vanessa, and Gregory had lost everything they already had. Their greed had destroyed them. But for Daniel and me, we had something worth more than $4 billion. We had each other. We had loyalty. We had love. And sometimes that's the only inheritance that really matters. 6 months later, Daniel started kindergarten at an excellent private school. Richard, Vanessa, and Gregory were buried under heavy legal charges, their fortunes drained, their reputation destroyed, and their empire reduced to bankruptcy. Me. I was learning that being a mom, even an accidental one, was the most rewarding job I'd ever had. The money was still there, growing in carefully managed trusts and investments. But it would wait. Daniel needed a childhood first, filled with ice cream and adventures and bedtime stories. Because that's what family does. Real family. The kind that fights for each other, not against each other. And as I tucked Daniel into bed that night, listening to him tell me about his day, I realized something important. Eleanor had given me the greatest gift of all. Not just the responsibility of protecting her grandson's future, but the privilege of being part of it. Some inheritances are measured in dollars. The best ones are measured in love. And we were rich beyond measure. If you enjoyed this story, hit the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and tell me in the comments where you're listening from.